on the latest episode of the Turn It Round the Corner podcast, kindly joined by Jordan Brown. Again, we're sat in the salubrious Gold Southend car park waiting for our boys to train. So, Jord, how you doing? Thank you for your time.
Yeah, all good, thank you, mate.
Yeah, good.
I've been waiting a while to get on here.
Yeah.
I've got my slot.
Good. So, Jord's someone that I've got to know locally. Our boys have played football together. They play cricket together. They're now at school together. Jord's had a great background in the game, but currently, mate, injured.
Yeah, I mean, now been 2 years since I kicked the football.
Right.
And obviously, do you know what? A lot of people say, do you miss it? And I think a little bit of me does miss probably more the change room side of it and the boys. And when I speak to boys that are still playing and you're sort of on the outside of it. But yeah, it's been a long time. Whether I go back playing or not, probably not. I mean, I know you boys want to get me in the vets team, but yeah. I mean, initially I quite liked it because, as you know, when you're playing football, everything you do is based around your football season. So it's like, you know, your holidays and what you got to do on a weekend, and especially at the level sometimes where you're doing a lot of travelling, you ain't got no time. So it felt all right to be honest with you, start with. It was like, hang on, I've got some time to myself. But now I think, it's been over 2 years since I've played at all at any sort of level, and I probably do miss it a bit, to be honest with you.
Would you wanna get yourself fit again to finish on your terms, or?
I would like to, yeah. I would like to kind of maybe get back and just see what can happen. Do you know what I mean? Like, one of the other things I think about as well is like my little boy started watching me play towards the end of it as he got to that sort of age.
Same as Bert.
And even he says, he's like, "Oh, do you think I'll ever watch you play football again?" So part of me thinks, you know what, like I wouldn't mind maybe playing and then seeing. Do you know what I mean? See what can happen. Yeah.
So from West Ham to Wakering, so we'll scrape it right back. So you're a local boy, grew up in Benfleet?
Yeah, grew up in Benfleet. Had sort of one season of local football, if you like.
Yeah. Who was you playing for?
I played with Kingdown Rangers at the time.
Yeah.
I don't even think they're not going anymore, to be honest with you. And then, had a season there, played up front.
Did you?
Yeah, started off up front, Goal scorer.
It's funny how everyone starts up front, isn't it?
Yeah, so I started off up front. Then I went into West Ham when I was 9.
Yeah.
And to be honest with you, by the time I was 12, I think at the team at the time, the striker, the boy that played at the back, like weren't there or whatever, and he said, "Who wants to go in defence?" So I sort of stuck my hand up and said, "Yeah, I'll go."
Yeah.
And then finished the game, and I just really enjoyed it.
Yeah.
I enjoyed being at the back, and then from then on, I kind of just always stayed there really. And didn't really kind of move forward again up the pitch until later on again. Do you know what I mean?
Can you remember how that came about, going into West Ham?
To be honest with you, I remember, I do remember literally like Dad coming back saying to me, "Look, they want to have a look at you." And then I kind of went in there, and do you know what? I think then I didn't really think much of it. Like I just thought I was just going to train with a group of boys. You know what I mean? And
I think it was a lot less pressurised.
Yeah.
I think it was a lot less off the radar then. Yeah. Like everything now is geared towards getting your kid in academy.
Exactly.
Right?
But for me, it was just going to play really with like another group of kids. I didn't really think about the fact that I was, going into West Ham. It weren't something I was ever playing to try and do. Really, I was it just sort of fell towards me, if you like.
Yeah.
And then we went and done it. And I had a great time there.
So when did you go in, Jord? Under
9s. I was 8. Yeah, under 9s.
So that's the first season you can go in. Yeah,
first season then was when we went in. And then just went from there. And like I said, the whole time I had a really good time. Like even just places that you went to go and play football. Yeah. I went all around the world really playing football as a kid, representing West Ham and things like that. And I got to play. I still speak to some of the boys now from when I was from a really young age. You know what I mean?
So what tournaments did you go? I remember West Ham days. Where did we go? Milk Cup, Davis Cup. Places like that.
I remember the year with what was the disease? It was like SARS disease or something like that. They had, and people couldn't. It was similar to like the COVID thing, and we couldn't travel. We was due to go to. I think we were supposed to represent England. We was due to go out to France or something like that.
Yeah, Saint-Tropez.
And then that got cancelled because of that. Yeah. But even like later on, we went Hong Kong, and then all over Europe, Switzerland, France, Belgium. We
Great
played
memories,
in, like,
though,
small
isn't it? I
tournaments.
say that to Bert now. Great
It
memories.
is, and that's why I think, although people might say, you know, did you enjoy it? But I did. I loved it. I loved every bit of it when I was younger. I know I said it didn't really feel to me like I weren't really phased by it, thinking, oh, I'm at West Ham. It didn't really mean that much. It just meant, because even the boys, my group, really, we had like four of us, really, nearly, say 4 or 5 that were there for quite a long time. Do you know what I mean?
They drew.
So you had him, like, from the start in my
from
team.
nines,
we had a boy called Connor Oakus, who was with me up until, youth team.
Yeah.
And then we had a boy.
Oakus, he ended up at like Canvey Island.
Yeah, I think. Do you know what? I don't know where he last played. I'm not sure. We had Charlie Dove, who, to be honest, Charlie stopped playing.
Yeah, I don't recognise
quite young. Billy Knott, obviously, was and he was from where we used to live together. We used to travel in together.
Yeah.
And he was there for quite a long time. So we had, a group of boys that were together for quite a while. And in a way, it was just like going to play with your mates. You know what I mean? But you always had new faces every year, because that's the way it goes, isn't it? It's a merry-go-round, isn't it?
Obviously, coming from your dad played, didn't he? And obviously,
my dad played.
Famous cousin.
Yeah. So football's always been in our family. Yeah, obviously, cousin. He was at West Ham.
Yeah.
Before me. But he actually got released at
did he?
14. Yeah.
So George, your cousin, obviously, for people that don't know, Kieran Richardson, where was he playing when you sort of broke in?
So he was at Man United when I was.
He was actually there.
So he was at United. So even that, I think that's when I started to see and realise, like, what he was doing. I think that's when you thought to yourself, like, this football thing's like real.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then obviously hearing what he was doing, and he was breaking into the first team and stuff like that at the time, and he'd kind of done all that. Do you know what I mean? So it was someone that you could look at what was doing. And my other cousin, he was at Crystal Palace.
Yeah.
Same as me. He got all the way through to 16, so he didn't actually get a scholar.
Right.
But he was at Palace from, say, 10 to 16.
Did he kick on again after that? Or
to be honest, he played non-league for a little while, but not. I think he played at Stortford for quite a bit.
What's his name, Joe?
Richie Jones.
Okay.
Yeah. So he was a right back. He played football as well. So yeah, we've always really been that side. I mean, because they just assume that, because funny enough, even my brother, so they saw me at a young age, and then Dad said straight away, "There's he's got a brother," and then they went and watched my brother. But my brother's like not into football. He's not. I mean, he played, but he weren't into football at all, really. So then they even thought I would go and see him and see what he's about.
Do you think that opened a few doors for you though early? Do you think he was on people's radars, or?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I think so. And I do think that probably people do sort of hear about things like that through that.
Yeah. Just talking about your cousin, and I've had a massive flashback that we won the league at Aveley, and the chairman paid for us to go Marbella. And Kieran and his mates, I can't remember who it was, were here, and Bristol City, I think, had just won League One, were there, and like we've walked into Ocean and they've given us the best bed, and then, like people were looking at us and saying, "Yeah, who the bloody hell are these lot?" And then Glenn Golby just walked for everyone, and he had some jeans that he'd cut down into the worst shorts I've ever seen, and just done a massive belly flop in the middle. And I just think people were thinking, like, "Who the bloody hell are these? Get them out!" But so you went in at 9, Jill. At what point did you think, like, at what age did you think I might have a chance? Or
probably when I felt like that sort of. So obviously, when it comes to getting scholarships, that's when I thought to myself, this is where, like, you're kind of getting close to it. Like,
did they say anything to you when you got a schoolboy, so under 15?
Yeah, so I didn't really, because you know what it's like. A lot of kids, especially now, I think more so, there's a lot of pressure there where they feel like they need to be at this level, and they need to do this and need to do that. And I think I was where, like, I'm not being big-headed, but where I was one of the better players in the team, we already knew, like, they'd already told Dad, like, he's going to be here next year. Do you know what I mean? So I never really had that, and maybe that's why I was playing without the pressure or the worry.
Even that, do you think, like, back then, like, thinking about that's a really good point. Like, I don't even remember these, like, No, like thinking about Bert now, you have these meetings every 3 months. You have
Exactly.
retain and release every.
Yeah.
Like, we didn't have that when we
No,
was kids.
I
You
didn't.
just got to the end of the season. You got a yes or no, crack on. Got a letter, carry on.
And I didn't sit down once as a kid.
No.
And they talk about what I've been doing, what I've not been doing. I didn't actually do that, but at West Ham until the end, really, when they sat me down and told me I wasn't going to get in the deal. But as a kid, it was all just, you know, like they'd speak to Dad and they'd let him know what they're going to do.
Yeah.
And so we already knew. Like I said, I never had to think. Whereas it's funny, I'll never forget like being in training at that sort of age, just before they were giving out like scholarships.
Yeah.
And a lot of the boys are like, oh, I don't know what. And I knew, but I couldn't say anything.
Sure.
So I didn't really say a lot, and they probably thought he's a bit sheepish. But I just sort of, there might have been other boys that knew. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
But so for me, that was probably quite good. I didn't have to worry as such. Whereas I think a lot of boys did have to worry and did have the pressure to kind of see whether they were going to get anything or whatever.
So during that journey, Joe, did you used to speak to Kieran a lot? Did you get
I did speak to Kieran and my uncle as well, because obviously they'd kind of gone through all that,
the process
in a few years ahead of where I was. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So if ever I needed to ask questions or know how things work, then you could kind of ask, because by that time he'd done that and had the best outcome from it. Do you know what I mean?
Did he do his YT at Man United?
Yes.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah. And then he first actually went alone to West Brom. I don't know if you remember when West Brom.
I remember that. That was a great estate.
That's it.
Yeah.
So that was his first loan.
He done well there, didn't he?
Done really well, yeah. And then once he finished that, that kind of kick-started him to go on at United and start playing. Do you know what I mean?
So you got your YT at West Ham, Joel. Did you move into digs? Did you? I
did. Yeah, I moved into digs for a bit.
Yeah.
Until I was driving.
Right.
And then obviously we went college and stuff. And then
Did you move back home?
Moved back home. Yeah.
Okay.
I did move back home because it's not that far.
No.
Yes, I moved back home.
Chapel Heath at the top. Was it Chapel Heath still?
Yeah. Chapel Heath. Yeah, and the digs was just in Montfort down the corner.
Yeah.
Which is just basically one big house.
Yeah.
That, they got looked after by Bob and Val that were doing it at the time.
Yeah.
And they had up to maybe 10 boys all in the house.
Can you remember who else you were sharing with then?
Well, when I was there, my age group, there weren't actually many boys that were in digs. I mean, we had boys from Ireland that come and go.
Yeah, sure.
Because obviously the youth set up at the time, they always had boys from Ireland.
Yeah.
So they had like 3 or 4 boys from Ireland. I had a boy, Christian Montano, that played. He was from Colombia, but he actually lived in North London. But he had the option as well, like he could have stayed in digs.
Yeah.
And I think they kind of wanted boys to be there as well, so that they knew what he was up to.
100%.
Do you know what I mean? So it probably helped them, even down to what he was eating, because he was getting fed there. He was eating the right food.
Yeah.
And so I think they did kind of want that. I should imagine they still do it now. I don't know if it's a different, because other boys that I played with other clubs, they actually get put like with a family.
Yeah.
But this was a bit different because you was living with all the other boys.
What was it, like a lodge?
No, it was like two
big house.
Yeah, two. It was like two houses built, like knocked into one.
Okay.
So yeah, it was just one big.
Yeah, property. Normally you're on your own or with someone else.
Which I know that even that, some boys, when it comes to going and do that, they struggle, because my cousin, the one who I said was at Palace, he went to Northampton, and then when he went to Northampton, he was in digs for a little while, but his digs were completely different to mine. You know what I mean? Because he was staying there, and then he, because like I said, he was living with a family. I think he might live with one other boy,
right?
But we was all sort of living together, so it didn't feel as much as
more of a laugh and all, wasn't
it? Yeah, and I weren't that far away from home. I was only, around the corner, really. But other people, they have to make sacrifices at a young age, even just to do that, to go and live with other people.
So your YTS, Jord, did you do 2 or 3 years? Did they get third year? Or?
I did, 16. Yeah, so I did the first year as just a scholar, then I signed pro at 17.
So at the start of your second year, you signed a pro,
yeah. And then obviously 17, 18, I think, so I signed a 2-year then. And then it was another 2 years after that. And then that was it.
So you obviously signed a pro halfway through your YT. How
Yeah.
did that make you feel? Did
Good,
that,
to be honest,
did that make
was
you feel like you made it a little bit?
Do you know what?
Did you slack off a little bit then, or did it make you more
I think
determined
it
to kick on?
it made me feel like I was like appreciated. Yeah, appreciated. And obviously Tony Carr at the time made me youth team captain.
Right.
And I'll never
It's a big
forget.
honour.
Yeah, and I'll never forget. I played in 18s once when I was about 15.
Right.
And that's when I thought, oh, like,
you got a chance.
Yeah, I thought, oh, they must like what I'm doing and stuff. And then even when I was when I played my first reserve game, and I don't even think I went on the bench reserve. I think someone must have got injured or whatever, and they phoned me late, and I was like, look, you're going to play tonight and you're starting. So I never even got a feel for like the reserve side of things, and I didn't really have time to get nervous, or all of a sudden I was in and I was playing.
I think that's sometimes better for the younger kids, in it, just to spring it on, and rather than that long build up.
I think that's when I first realised about the levels. So I played a resi game, and they had the second one was Everton, and Yakubu was playing.
Oh, was he?
And I remember like just the size of him and what he could do, and I thought to myself, like, that's
the level you got to get to.
And he ain't, don't get me wrong, he's a Premier League player, but he wasn't a Premier League superstar.
No.
Do you know what I mean? So you think to myself, if that's where he's at, then what's these other guys at that time? Do you know what I mean? And I think that's when I really first realised the level that you've got to be at.
I know we always talk about football, Jordan. I always speak to people a lot. I think we've probably discussed it a lot, but massive advocate of getting rid of under 23s football and bringing back that competitive reserve league. What's your thoughts on that?
Do you know what? I think I agree, especially now, because what I'd say is, like you're saying, if you're under 23, like, and people might say it sounds harsh, but if you're 22, 23, and you're going to be good enough, you're going to have a career, you should already be playing men's football, not under 23
100%.
football. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
because
100%.
What are you really doing? Like, you can't always compare yourself to the likes of, say, Foden or whatever, Bellingham, people like that, but at that age, they're established first-team players. So how are you ever going to get anywhere near, even down to, even if you go further than that, go League 1, League 2, you're not going to get a 23-year-old kid who's played loads of under 23 games. They'll go and play a League 1, League 2 game, and they could be way out of there. Because it's men's football. 100%. It's different. It is different. And I feel like, obviously, the loan system's good, but even the loan system, it's hard to find the right place to go because, again, you've got that. I mean, I learned that with me. My first loan, I went on loan to Aldershot. And
they were in League 2 at the time,
League 2 at the time, Went down there.
Was that when you were still a YT, Jord, or was that first year pro?
No, I was a first year pro then.
Right.
And, yes, I must have been 17 or maybe nearly 18. So I went down there, and the reason they signed me initially, I think the left back was injured.
Who was the manager at the time?
Dean Aldershot.
Oh, okay.
So I went down there and played my very first game, and even that, I did all right. I wouldn't say I was amazing, but it was the first game, like, in front of a league crowd and things like that.
3 points on offer.
Do you know what I mean? So played, and then by the second game, I think they'd realised his injury weren't as bad as what they thought.
Right.
Played the first game, played the second game, obviously, again, so I'd done all right. And by the third game, he was back fit again. So then it was like, straight away, I thought, I wonder if they're just going to stick him back in. Bearing in mind, he's played however many games at that level, and for them, like, fans loved it. Do you know what I mean? So you're kind of up against it anyway.
Do you remember who that was, Jord, who was playing at the time?
Anthony Straker.
Right, okay,
Straker, Good player.
He finished at Southend, didn't he?
Yes. Yeah. Good player, left back. Like, and even then, I was still, I'd watch him and I think, like, he's, he's good. Yeah. Good level of player. So then he kind of got back fit. Then I think he played. Then I played, say, he might have done the Saturday game, but he didn't do the Tuesday as well. So I might have played on the Tuesday. And then we played in a cup and we drew Man United. So it was Aldershot, Man United, at Aldershot that year. And obviously Man United were in town, and and then I went from that to and again, now...
Did you play, Jord?
No, so this is what I'm saying. But now when you're older, you realise these things happen. So
Yeah.
being older, obviously got his team,
Yeah.
and Aldershot never going to play Man United again. So there was me, there was another boy on loan as well, and we weren't even in the squad on the match day.
I was going to say loan boys dropped out.
He's put his boys in, and you say, "Oh, okay, I get that now," but I look at it differently. But at the time, I was thinking, "What's going on?"
Like,
I've played a few. Do you know what I mean? And now I'm in the stands. I'm nothing to do with the whole occasion, because obviously he got his boys that were his boys, and you know he's
obviously he signed them. He's got to have them for the rest of the season.
And it's the same for them. That, you know, none of them boys have played Man United again since.
No.
Do you know what I mean? So it's like he wanted that moment to be for them, but it kind of. And the other thing I think as well what happens is, I mean, I don't know this for sure, but I think what happens then, obviously your parent club look at it and go, "Oh, why is he not playing down there?" Like, straight away they think, "Oh." They might not have even been to watch the game, but they'll go, "Oh, well, if he's not doing it there, he's not going to be able to come play for us as such." Do you know what I mean?
Well, you see a lot in the press now, didn't you? So-and-so's gone to, let's just say, Leyton Orient, for instance, because they've more or less guaranteed that he'll play more than not.
Yeah.
Because, as you say now, if you don't go out at the right time, if you linger in under-23s football, you know, too long, you go out at League One, League Two, and, you know, it smacks you around the face. It's men's football, and it hits you like a truck. So I think...
And it can be a completely different game to what you're used to, because that 18s football, like say 21s, 23s, it's a good way to learn, but it's not the only way to play football.
Well, the reason for me is I always say it's got to go, because I watch games. I'm going to watch a game tomorrow. I just find it's glorified keep ball. Like it's still like for me, I would say back in the day, up to, you know, schoolboy under 16s, that was development football, right? You still wanted to win, but it's development football.
Yeah.
Once you got into the youth team, YT, whatever, that was like 3 points football.
Yeah.
Reserve team is 3 points football. And obviously you get in the first team, 3 points football. Now I look at it that academies are all development, under 23s are development.
Yeah.
And if you don't get out at the right time, obviously that's going to hinder your progress. And from having a really good career, you know, you play too many under 23 games and seasons and get stuck at that level, that's going to harm your career and maybe not give you the platform that you require.
So, Jord, following your loan at Aldershot, was it a couple of months or did you stay there for the whole season?
No, it was only initially it was just a month's loan anyway.
Yeah.
And then once the month was up, kind of like I said, obviously it gets looked at, and maybe at the time they thought, "Oh, how come he's not played down there or whatever?" And then I went straight back to West Ham. But to be honest, in that time when I did go back was when I really sort of played a lot of reserve team football, like to start with. Do you know what I mean? And at that time, I really did enjoy playing reserve team football.
Yeah. Was there any senior pros playing in that?
Obviously, then you know what. So you've got players that are either coming back from injury or they're not getting on with a manager for whatever reason. Yeah. So you kind of get to spend time with those sort of players. Do you know what I mean? And you learn from them really. We had quite a good group, our reserve team group, and Alex Dyer. He was doing most of it at the time.
Alex Dyer, the old player.
Yeah. He was doing it for I think pretty much most of the time when I was with the reserves, really. And then from there, the next time I actually went out was a lot later on, really, because it was almost towards the end. I mean, I was, like I said, I played a lot of reserve team football, was on the edge of the first team, like got involved through 3 different managers, really. Avram Grant was there originally, and he was the first one that put me in the first team squad.
So by that you mean training with him on a day-to-day basis?
Training with him, yeah. So he kind of in and out training-wise, and then at one point they kind of turned around and said, "Look, you're going to be with these daily."
Yeah.
And that's also another time when I realised, like, the level. Do you know what I mean? Sure. You look at it and you think, like, these players, there's some players here that are just they're on a different level.
Yeah, of course.
And then, so the next time I actually went out away from West Ham was towards the end, obviously, once, I think it was Avram Grant, then we had Zone as first team manager.
Yeah.
And then obviously after that, it was when Sam Allardyce come in.
Okay.
And basically the reason I went out then really was because they kind of said to me, look, like your contract's up.
Yeah.
You're not going to get a new deal, basically. And
Right.
they told me pretty early.
When was that?
So they must have told me must have been January time, I reckon.
Okay. And this was your third year of being a pro?
Yes. Yeah. So when we kind of sat down and had the meeting, they kind of already made the decision that there was a few of us that weren't going to get offered anything. So I kind of said, well, look, can I go out now? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so that's what I've done. And I went to Crewe. So for like the second half, pretty much the second half of the season, that's when I went to Crewe. So
they were in League Two?
We were in League Two, yeah.
Yeah.
League Two at the time.
Who was in charge? Dale Grady was in charge?
Steve Davis. Dale Grady was there. He's always sort of there, and he likes
Steve Davis, the one he comes touring, he does Wolves under 23s.
Wolves, yeah.
Right,
he had the Wolves job for a little while, didn't he?
He did, yeah.
I think he took it on
a interim basis, yeah. He did a couple of years ago.
So so he was my manager.
He's a nice man, actually.
Yeah, he is, and I got on really well with him, Josh. And one of the good things I felt with him is he was pretty honest. You know what I mean? Even in terms of, and I said to you about the thing at Aldershot, which was part of it as well, where we drew Man United, all of a sudden you weren't in the squad.
Yeah.
And then at Crewe, I played in a few games running up to the playoffs because we got in through the playoffs.
Right.
We got promoted that year.
Okay.
And then the day where we played at Wembley, he kind of already said to me, look, he sort of teed me up early and said, look, we're going to put, because at Crewe's something that's based on all their academy and all the kids coming through.
Famed for it.
So they wanted to make a point, if you like, of putting all those boys in.
Yeah.
And they was all like, he filled the bench up with, kids that have come through the academy and things like that.
So was you in and out at the time, Jord?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. But I think I played probably only a run of say 5 games just before the playoffs.
Right.
Then
and if you weren't playing, who was playing left back?
Left back who played left back at the time?
Is that where you was playing from though, left back?
Yeah. Matt Tootle used to play left back. He was there, and actually Steve Davis' son, he played left back as well.
Oh, okay.
He had 2 boys there at the time. So even that, like, obviously we got to Wembley playoff final, and I knew I wasn't going to be playing because he'd already sort of told me. So like, it's a bit of a weird one really, because even my mum and dad come watch me play everywhere. Yeah. And I sort of phoned them. I said, look, like, no point coming.
Yeah.
And my dad was like, no, I've got to come. My dad still come, but like none of my family really come, even though they've watched me for all that time. But sort of like when you know you're not going to be involved, and even down to the fact that obviously I got a medal for it, but where I didn't play, I wasn't involved. It didn't really feel like nothing to me. Do you know what I mean?
Who did they play, Jord?
Played Cheltenham, I think it was.
Right. And they won,
in
obviously.
The final, they won, Nick Powell, I don't know if you remember.
Oh, I remember Nick Powell. That was the one on Sky. That was quite a good game, that. Yeah, okay.
And he scored a really good goal in that game, and he went to United that summer. Off the back of that season, really.
So did you, after your loan was up, didn't you go there permanently? Did you go there permanently?
So that was the end. Come the end of that season, obviously, that last Wembley final being the last game. Contract was out of West Ham.
Right.
And then, to be honest, that's maybe when there's one of the times where you think, could you have made a different decision, but you don't know because it's football. But
did you have an agent at the time, Jord?
Yeah, I had an agent at the time, yeah. But I was living in a hotel up there.
Okay.
And I wanted to come home, really. Like, I didn't really want to be up there. Like, she used to come up there.
Do you think it would have been different if you'd have had a house or?
Maybe. Right. Maybe. But me and another boy, Billy Bowden, were literally living in
the old talkie forward. Yeah.
And he was the same. He kind of just, it's a long way, and you're living in a hotel, and there ain't a lot to do there.
Is Billy Bowden the one who set fire, done really well at Accrington, and then had mental health issues and sort of retired early? Is that him? Right. Okay.
But he's back playing. He's playing at where's he playing? At Oxford, I think he is.
Okay.
He's at Oxford now. Wanted to come back home, and then that's when I went to Barnet.
Right.
So Mark Robson,
League Two as well.
Yeah, League Two. So you had Mark Robson and Kenny Brown got the job there. And obviously I worked with Mark Robson through West Ham Academy when I was younger. So that's sort of where it come from. And he was someone that, just because I knew him.
Barnet moved to the Hive then?
No, we were still at Underhill. That was the last year at Underhill, because that's the year. Yeah, we were still at Underhill, then we moved to Hive the second year. So basically that's what kind of swayed my decision, going to work with them too, because, I know him from when I was younger and things like that. So went to Barnet, and we just struggled massively, like as a team. And even Robbo, looking back on it now, he had a lot of players like myself that were young players that he knew that he'd worked with. Probably didn't play a lot of games at league football, and I'm pretty sure we were something like first 14 games without a win.
Wow.
I'm sure it's maybe 12, 14 games. So obviously straight away you're up against it. Do you know what I mean? And we were a young side, and he brought a few experienced players.
He was a youth coach at West Ham, wasn't he?
Yeah, he's still there now.
Right, okay. And Kenny Brown's now in charge of the academy.
Yeah, that's it, yeah. So they're still there since the Barnet job. They've gone and done what they've done. Because I'm sure Robbo was at Villa for a little while as well.
Right.
He done something at Villa when my cousin Kieran was at Villa.
Right.
He was there then. But yeah, he's gone back. They've gone back to West Ham now. But yeah, we just struggled as a team, like in general, and I think it was difficult.
It's a long run without winning it. 14 games. Did he get the sack?
Yes. Well, initially they didn't. What they done is I don't know if you remember, they brought in Edgar Davids.
Right. Oh yeah.
So they brought in Edgar Davids, and then first of all the chairman said, "Oh look, Davids is coming in. He's going to work alongside Robbo."
Yeah. And
I think basically what happened there is you had Davids then brought in. I'll never forget. We played over on a pitch like this at the Hive the second year when we was there, and he brought a plane over of just all Dutch from Holland.
Yeah.
Played against us, and he even kind of. I remember he came in the changing room and sort of went around to us and said, "Oh, you do know you're going to have a tough game today," as if to say like these boys are all going to be good. Yeah. It's like he wanted them to be there rather than us.
Sure.
So yeah, when he was first there, that created a bit of these were like Robbo's players and these were Davids. Do you know what I mean? So, and I think not anyone, there was a lot of us that, I mean, Davids didn't really seem to get on with anyone, to be honest.
So how'd it go? Just try this game, Jord.
Yeah, so we played against them all Dutch. I'm pretty sure we beat them pretty comfortably. They had like one or two that were all right. Yeah. The rest of them I don't know where he'd got them from.
Right.
But he weren't too happy about that, because I think he sort of wanted to bring them in.
Yeah, sure.
And he wanted to get them involved rather than us lot.
Did you stay up that season or did you go down?
No, so we went down. Yeah, we went down.
To the National, yeah.
And then that's obviously was the first season at the Hive. And then that's when, because Robbo actually left after about 6 weeks. It was one of them like it was never going to work. Do you know what I mean?
Sure.
It was his kind of team that he'd put together. He was amazing. All of a sudden they brought him in, and it turned into a bit of a media circus in terms of.
Is that when he was wearing like 0 and all that?
That's it. So we had our captain was Curtis Weston at the time.
Yeah. Took
the armband off of him. Took the number 1 shirt off of Stacky, goalkeeper. Yeah. He wore number 1.
What, he was there? Was he Stacky?
Yeah, Stacky was there. Yeah.
I won't go into them stories.
Oh mate, he's brilliant. He's probably, even then, because where I was quite young, like he's one of the biggest characters I've ever met in football. Do you know what I mean?
I think everyone says the same thing.
Yeah, he was brilliant. So David's done that, and then he just had a really weird way about him. Like we had a player, Andy Yids, who's at Reading now.
Yeah.
So one that Yids weren't just whether he was playing or not. He just had so Yids had played, I don't know, however many games consistently at right back at the time, and he changed his boots, new pair of boots. Everyone gets a new pair of boots. David has come in and he's gone, "Why have you changed your boots?" He said, "Oh, I've got a new pair of boots." And he was like, "You've got the wrong attitude for today. You change your boots." Like, and so straight away, he's sort of like put him on the spot a bit. Yeah. He used to do things like that. Just
what to keep people on their toes?
I think so. I think that's what he wanted to do, but it all depends on how how you take that. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? But it didn't work. I mean, when he first came in, obviously he was Edgar Davids. Everyone was like, "Oh, we're going to work with him. He's going to be brilliant." But unfortunately, it was just,
the old adage about like good players don't always become good managers.
That's right. And I think it was more for him. I mean, he'll probably never admit it even now if he ever spoke.
It was his one and only job, wasn't it?
Yeah. If he ever spoke about it, but like to be honest, he was still, you could see what he'd done and the level that he played at, but. Because he got sent off.
I was going to say he got sent off a few times.
3 times in a row.
That's it.
And basically what that was frustration, because he's playing he's played where he's played, and he's gone away at wherever, and people get the better of him, and he just get frustrated. So he was lashing out, kicking out, and then Yeah, I'm pretty sure he got sent off 3 games back to back.
Right.
And yeah, so that didn't really. And then obviously that was my second year there. Was when my contract was up anyway.
Was you playing at the time, Jord? First year, or was you playing?
Played, yeah. I played a lot more my first year than the second year under Davids because I didn't really get on with him.
Right. And in second year, what, in and out, or second fiddle?
Yeah, didn't really. I was injured for about, I reckon I must have missed 6 months of the season for injury, and it was the start of the season.
What'd you do?
That was my quad.
Right.
Just never really. I mean, we did get to the bottom of it eventually, but I don't really know what it was. And I was trying to get back, and it was going again and things like that. So yeah, I didn't really play, and then that season finished.
Who was playing instead of you, George?
Elliot Johnson. Johnson.
Okay.
I don't know where he is now. He was at Dagenham last year, I think, maybe. But he played for Barnet for quite a while, actually. Yeah. Because he come through at Barnet as a kid.
Is this the time, because obviously they dropped, I suppose it coincided with moving to the Hive, but obviously dropping it out there, they got rid of all their youth system as well, didn't they? Yeah. Because they had people like Stevens and stuff that had left. I remember him.
Yeah. But another boy there who I love the story, to be honest, Jamal Lowe.
Yeah.
And he kind of come over with us. That's another thing with like David. So, he used to train with the first team, like from the kids or whatever, from the 18s. And Davids is doing a demo. So he's put a session on, done a demo, and he slipped and like messed it up. And Jamal was only a kid, and he sort of giggled, and like Davids has heard him, like reacted to it, just gone mad at him, like just he didn't play. Made him run like the rest of that day. Never come back in the first team. So just because he'd like, I think like a few people at the time, I think even like your senior players like Stacky and Curtis and people like that were like, he's out of order. Like,
that's just cutting your nose off to spite your face.
Yeah. So he's done that to Jamal, and then to be fair to him, he probably felt like that could have been it because he then, he was at Barnet, and then he had to work his way up again. Like he went on.
Didn't he drop down somewhere?
Went to Hampton and Richmond or Hemel or like a couple of those teams. Yeah. And from then on, he's done it. He's done what he's had to do. He's sort of worked hard, and I think what he's done is brilliant, to be honest, because that could have been the end of him quite easily.
Did you see the exit coming, George? Second year?
Yeah, I knew from. Yeah.
Did they leave it late again, or did they give you the
kind of? Yeah, I mean, I did stay there right till the end, to be honest,
yeah.
But I mean, I knew the whole time he was there, it wasn't going to happen.
Right.
And then eventually he did actually go, but I'd already, and then I think that's when Martin Allen come back.
Right.
But I was already gone by then.
Right.
So I never actually worked under Martin Allen.
So at that point, George, you dropped it. Was it Stalford yourself? So you went to Conference South,
yeah? Yeah, Stalford.
What during that time, is that just?
But that wasn't actually straight away, to be honest with you.
Why did you sign there?
Just because, what was the reason that I went there initially? I knew someone.
Was that Martin Hayes in charge then, or was it after
Rod.
that? Oh, was it Rodders?
Yeah,
was it? Okay.
Rod.
So were they in the Conference North?
I'll tell you how he got in touch with me was through Jay Reason.
Yeah.
Jay Reason was with Rod at
Braintree. Yeah, he was. Yeah.
So that's kind of where it come from. And he was one of the first non-league managers really to ring me up,
right,
and say that wanted me to go over there. And I never forget when I went there, they had a striker there called Cliff. You know Cliff?
Cliff Wakering. Yeah, I know Cliff quite well. Yeah.
So like first time in non-league, and I'm having a look at the players like when I first got in there.
Yeah.
And even like looking at the program, and I looked at the program, I thought there's loads of players here.
Yeah.
But I didn't really know anything about nothing about it. And then I remember. We've gone home, and I thought there's a few players there, and then Cliff said, "I've played here, played there, played there."
Was this thing when they got put in a Conference North, Joel?
No,
it was before that.
It was, yeah, right, okay. Yeah, I didn't go in the North. And then I looked on Cliff's. He told me he'd played for quite a few clubs.
Yeah.
And I looked on his Google, Wikipedia, whatever, and I couldn't believe how many clubs he'd been to. And I thought to myself, how have bearing in mind. I'd only ever been really at West Ham, and I've sort of gone on loan, and now I've gone. The only time I've properly come away from West Ham was when I went to Barnet.
Yeah.
And I thought, how are these people played for so many different clubs? I didn't really understand it.
Yeah.
And it's not until you sort of play non-league football when you realise the merry-go-round that it is. You know what I mean?
You've only got to have a manager change.
Yeah.
The manager can bring in 10 new players.
But that was the very first thing that shocked me. And I thought, how can he have played for so many different teams?
Yeah.
And then after, just...
Who else was in that team? Matty Johnson?
Yeah,
people
Matty
like that?
yeah.
Good mate of mine, Matty.
Church was there.
I'm trying to think who else.
To be honest, they had not a bad side. They were never one of the...
Is that when they had that? Was that the year they had the cup run? They played Northampton on the Sunday.
No, that was just before.
Was it?
That was when like Dwight Gow was still there and Reece present. That's when my cousin was there.
Right. Okay.
So he was there with them lot. So it was just after that. But yeah, so it was a bit of an eye opener to see, like non-league football.
Yeah.
And then go back to what I was saying about when I first went on loan as well. That's when you see what football means to people more than just the kids that are playing in that reserve team and
that win bonus or whatever it is.
It's massive.
Is different. But it was an eye opener getting a slap on the back from Rod, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly.
The hardest,
even him,
the hardest slap on the back in.
And you'd never come across.
Football.
I've never come across a manager like that. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? Because you just,
man, Rod.
that it was nothing wrong with the way he does. That's just the way he is. But it was just a different way to.
He old school. I would say, like Rod, that I think Rod's evolved over the last few years of getting people wrapped around in a more coaching, good, like that side of thing. Rod knows a lot of players. Great man motivator.
Yeah.
Like he's on you. Do you know what I mean?
And he's one of them. He's obviously getting his team. His togetherness, isn't it? Because it takes you a long way.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? You can have a team of, like, what it's like in non-league. You get a team that got a massive budget and they throw a team together. But a team that actually plays for each other
100%.
and works for each other,
especially in them levels. Was that the time, Jord, when you went to Stalford? Did you go on trial at Luton?
Yes.
So what league were they in? Is that when they got to the conference?
I didn't. That was when I was at Bournemouth.
Okay.
So I was at Bournemouth after that. Once I left,
you went there after Stalford, right?
I went to Bournemouth. Basically because, initially I went into...
Where were they? Had they dropped to the conference?
They was in the conference... Where did we... No, Conference South, yeah.
Luton.
Oh, sorry, Luton were. Luton were. So I went in at Luton and I trained there for quite a long time.
Still,
and Hackam.
Yeah.
And basically I was on trial there really for a long time.
Right. And playing at Bournemouth at the same time.
Well, that's where it come about. So I was playing in Luton's like reserves and stuff like that, and they put a lot of in-house games on, all that sort of thing. And then Bournemouth at the time they had a bit of a thing with Luton. They had a couple of boys that sort of played for them as well. So then they said, look, do I want to go and get some games in for for Bournemouth, sorry. So I went over there, played under Luke Garrett was he was still playing at the time, but he was like assistant manager. And then I went there for that, pretty much the back end of that season. So I probably spent, after that year, at least 6 months really at Luton, like training and seeing what was going on.
John Steele's probably the best advocate for finding gems.
And do you know what? He was brilliant with me, like, and he always, another one that was always open with you and told you what was going on. And he weren't like sort of leading me along as such, although he said to me, look, I like you, but the situation that he's in now, but he wanted me there still, you know what I mean? Still wanted me around it.
Were they giving you any money, Luton, or not?
Only
just expenses?
Yeah.
At this point, though, Jord, when you're playing for Stalford and Bournemouth, had you aspirations still to get back into full-time football? Or had you started work?
I'll be honest with you, after the Luton thing, that's when I thought, like, once that didn't happen, I thought to myself, that's when really, like, you got to start thinking about going to work. Do you know what I mean?
Sure.
Like, the full-time football side of it, for me, was it. Do you know what I mean? That's how I felt.
Did you go and get a job? Obviously, at that level, you're still earning good football money. Was you living off your football money, or did you think, as you say?
No. I went and got a job. Yeah, I went and got a job, and then obviously the thing through Curtis, who was my agent at the time, anyway. The thing kind of started with him, with the courses with the PFA and stuff like that. And that's when I sort of started doing all that. When I thought to myself, obviously,
and that's to get into the underground. Yeah.
So I don't know if they've run another one since, but they've had a few before me that did it.
Because I know we've spoke about it a lot. I know like Danny Brown and people like that had done that.
There's a goalkeeper, Lee Butcher.
Yeah.
He was at Spurs. He went on and done it. But there was quite a few players on the course that done it to kind of just have it in their back pocket, I suppose. I mean, they're still playing now.
Sure.
And when their time comes, where similar to everyone that drops out of full-time football, there is a time where you think, what am I going to do now? Do you know what I mean?
I think you've made a good point there. Like, people don't understand sometimes that the amount of support that the PFA can give. If you've paid in, like, you should really decide what you want to do and then see if you can get a course out of it.
Yeah, exactly. Because they are there to help, and they are good with that. Because you've got to think, as a kid, I mean, I know I probably didn't really think about being a footballer until I kind of left school and started like, full-time. But you don't have a plan B because you're just thinking football.
100%.
And you are sort of built up.
And you get caught in that bubble, don't you?
Of course you do. You are built up to be, you're going to be a footballer. So if you'd have said to me, even at 20, what else are you going to do? I didn't want to, there was nothing else. Do you know what I mean? It was just, and I think that's where some people struggle because, especially if they feel in themselves that I'm only ever going to be a footballer.
Yeah.
That's all I'm going to do. And maybe there's a side of it where, I mean, I know for a fact I played with boys that say they got released at say 18.
Yeah.
And you got to remember they're a footballer to everyone they know. Locally, they're a footballer. All their schoolmate, they're the footballer. Then in 3-4 months later, when their contract's up, they've got to go work on a building site.
Well, you lose face.
You know what I mean?
You lose a little bit of identity.
People don't want to do that, and then that's when it all changes, I think.
It's also, as a footballer as well, you're told where to be, what to eat, at what time, what to wear, and then all of a sudden you're left to your own devices. And then, you know, the real vices in life, alcohol or drugs or betting can get a grip on you. So at that point then, Jord, when you dropped into, actually before that, but before you done your course with for the underground and like you're playing non-league, was there any part of you that would think, oh, I want to stay in the game and coach? Because everyone I speak to, like round our way, said like you're you know, obviously you're a good coach. You know the game. Yeah, you've had a good ground.
I've never ever really thought about it at the time, to be honest, and only now I felt, obviously since Harley's been playing, is when I started to feel like
you've got something to offer.
Yeah, I can help these kids. You know what I mean? And whether it be, even if there's, you know, the little team that we've been doing it, even if I can help 2 or 3 of them to improve and to enjoy it more because they improve, then do you know what I mean? But never actually thought about going down that road of coaching, like fully, if you like.
I know we speak about it a lot, but sometimes it's not even about coaching. You know, like sometimes you could tell Bert or I could tell Harley that when you get that ball, you've got to take it on the back foot. Or when you're in that situation, I think people that have played can just see the game a little bit different to people that have maybe not played or just done their badges. Like from I think you've definitely got a lot to give. But once you dropped into non-league, obviously, Jord, after Bournemouth, I've got Hemel, Whitehawk, Dulwich, Welling, Concord, Canvey, East Thurrock, Stortford, and obviously you finished at Wakering before you got injured. At that point, what was the main driver for you then, non-league? Was it earn as much money as you can? Was it depending who the manager was, where your pals was?
I think more. There was, at times, there was good money.
Yeah, of course.
But as well, I think being a defender, you was never really one of the top earners.
You're not getting centre forward.
When the money was being thrown around, you weren't never at the top scale of it.
Yeah.
So it was more so probably different times for me where I thought because I'll never forget when I first went to Welling, I didn't really know anyone at Welling.
Right. Who's the manager?
Mark Goldberg.
Oh, okay,
and he was brilliant.
Yeah.
But he's one of the ones really I went there because he offered me a lot more money.
I was just about to say, George. I know full well that he was paying absolute.
Yeah, he was one where I probably thought, Joe, what?
You've got to take it.
Whereas Dulwich was completely different. Dulwich come about. Gavin Rose knew my cousin Kieran and my uncle.
Junior Kelly is there. Yeah.
And they were just good people, and I just wanted to go and play.
Also, I think
them.
Dulwich as well. You've got that whole I watched the highlights yesterday actually against Hashtag from the weekend. They're still getting like 2,000-3,000. It's a proper club, and
it's brilliant.
It's like it's a bit cool. It's a bit funky. Like, what about Whitehawk though, George? From where we live, that's a slap.
Yeah,
isn't it?
Whitehawk was one where I worked.
How did you get there?
I went there through. Why did I end up? That was one. So Whitehawk, I think I played one game.
Oh, okay.
That was one of them. Went there. That Steve King, said,
was
come
it that?
over,
Right, okay.
do this, do that. And
Again,
then he
Steve
turned
King.
around and it weren't that. So
Right.
I just said, I ain't going back there. Like
No.
you just said, it ain't round the corner.
No, it's a long way.
I'm pretty sure I played one game for him.
Right.
And I thought, I'm not doing this.
Must have been some good money on offer there, though, Steve King.
Yeah,
only
because,
went,
but I just thought this ain't.
Is that when they was having a go?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. But they didn't actually go up in the end that season. But
Right.
I'm pretty sure I might have played one, maybe 2 games. I
Okay.
thought, it weren't for me. Do you know what I mean? Even if they did have a little bit of money.
Yeah.
Like I said, my best times, I'd say, what I really enjoyed the most was I did enjoy Welling.
Yeah.
Dulwich massively, and my time at Concord, I really enjoyed being.
So I'm just going to get onto it. So obviously, you come out of the programme, you've gone Stalford, Bournemouth, Hemel, Whitehall, Dulwich, Welling, and then you kind of come back, locally to where we live now, Concord, Canvey, East Thurrock.
Yeah.
I think you went back for a little spell at Stalford, but then Wakering. Was that then more when you felt like just going to play football, and obviously you still would have got all right money, but it was more like
that was obviously
an ease thing.
Exactly. When 2 kids,
yeah,
it's more time at home because you're closer to home.
Yeah, less travel time.
Just things like that. And I did still obviously enjoy playing on a Saturday, but it was more just keep it closer really, rather than, you know what I mean, keep travelling all these distances, or even in terms of I could have went sometimes to the league above.
Yeah.
But I thought to myself, I didn't really want to be doing the travelling anymore.
Once you've got 2 kids as well, the more time you can spend at home, right? The less grief you get in.
Exactly. So
who was in charge of Concord? Was that Scopesy then, or
no?
Smallsy?
Adam Flanagan.
Oh, was it? Okay,
yeah.
All right.
Yeah, Adam Flanagan was there, and Glenn.
Yeah, Glenn Tomlin.
No,
Glenn has a busy. I love Glenn. Yeah. Absolutely love Glenn.
So he was there, but again, that comes back to that's a football club where it's just built on just people. You know what I mean? There's never, it weren't money. It's not a club that's got loads of money.
Yeah.
But they've only ever done well because they're built on good people and they're built on a good atmosphere.
I think you've only had to see the last couple of years. Once Scopesy stepped away, once the chairman sort of pulled his money out, like they've been in decline.
And
really.
I think that's because never forget when like you say about the people around the club, the chairman and the small crowd that go. Yeah. They're all a part of it.
Yeah, they are massively.
You kind of knew what it meant to Concord and to play 100%. For Concord, whereas I think now that's
maybe lost a little bit.
It's swindled out a little bit, and that did. I admit I was after the Cowleys, but I'm pretty sure they're the ones that kind of set that. Do you know what I mean? They 100%. Set that in stone, and anyone that went in there afterwards, that's what they was following, really. But
so I played with both Nicky and Danny at Harlow. Still speak to them, and like the turnaround with them guys and Scopesy at Concord was like unbelievable. And it was like when you looked at from the outside, you're like, look at it. Like you didn't like them when you were playing against them.
Yeah, you're right.
But when you played for them, everyone loved it. Yeah. Everyone bought in. You could see the club, as you said, like that group of people. You could go and play anywhere in the country, and you'd see the same 50 people would be there.
Yeah.
So what about East Thurrock, Jord? Was that during the times when?
So East Thurrock was obviously Covo.
Obviously, again, that's another club that's changed massively.
So Covo, to be honest with you, Covo was kind of like I say chasing me. He used to ring me up nearly every summer. Yeah. And he'd say, "Look, fancy coming over." And then I was at Concord, which I really enjoyed. Then the year after, when I was at Canvey, he tried again. Yeah. And then what happened is the second year at Canvey was under Mark Bentley actually.
Right.
Who's obviously at Southend now.
Yeah.
And I just felt...
Is that the year he done really well before he went to Southend?
Yeah, and then obviously we lost a few players. Yeah. And again, a few of the boys actually went to East Thurrock as well. Yeah. And then Covo said again, like, do you fancy coming over? And I thought, do you know what? I've only ever heard good things about him anyway. And
very likeable.
I knew a few of the boys there. And it just seemed right to go and play for him at the time. Do you know what I mean? And it was brilliant. We again, he's another one. He gets his boys. It's about togetherness. You know what I mean? East Thurrock didn't have no money. It weren't about the money. You know what I mean? And that is when it really went bad for East Thurrock. And Covo went through a lot of. And you know what? My respect for him grew even more when I played under him, and he actually tried to save that club himself. Yeah, I remember that. And I never forget, like, when he pulled the boys together and he sort of told us what was really going on. Yeah. And he'd give a lot for that football club. Yeah. I think he was paying the wages out of his own pocket at one stage, wasn't he? Yeah. He kept the club afloat. And then when you do see it go the other way, it's horrible, really, because you know what someone like him's put into it. and what it meant to him. Do you know what I mean? And like I said, we just spoke about ourselves, what we do as players, and you sacrifice and you don't see your family. And I thought to myself, like, what must Covo be doing? I mean, he's there, like, you know, opening up the bar and he's doing everything. Do you know what I mean?
As a player, you sacrifice a lot, but ultimately, you are just, it's like training it. You turn up with your boots, finish, go home. Managers like non-league, 7 days a week without actually a 7 day a week salary, you know, especially at those levels. So, Jord, what would, I don't want to keep you too long. We'll wrap this up, try and wrap it up under the hour. Like, if you could think back over your career, full time, part time, have you got any regrets?
Probably not. I don't never think to myself, what if? I mean, I think
that's a good way to be.
Yeah, I wouldn't change anything. Yeah. The only thing, I know everyone says it, injuries and stuff like that. There's nothing you can do about that. You know, I got injured at times where probably weren't great. But as you know, I never forget my very first involvement with West Ham's first team was at Christmas. Yeah. And I was on the bench at Fulham away. Okay. And in the next game, because we played, that was Boxing Day fixture, we had another game on the first. And
is that the closest you got, George, to the bench?
And the left back at the time, I think it might have been Ilunga, maybe. Right. Ilunga was injured. And it was almost like, you know, I was going to play.
Yeah, next in line.
And the training session between Christmas and New Year, I pulled my quad. Like, right. Do you know what I mean? And I think little things like that,
like sliding door moments,
what might have happened.
Yeah, sure.
It's not anything that I could control. Yeah. So I don't ever think to myself, I wish I'd have done this. I wish I'd have done that.
When you got injured, Jord, was you one of them that was trying to get back as quick as possible?
I wanted to, yeah. Right. And it probably didn't help me because, like I said, at the time when I was at Barnet, and it just trying to do it and it would just go again and things like that. Because really, you felt like you was away from it and you were desperate to get back in.
Miss the boys.
Yeah, do you know what I mean? Yeah. And you didn't want to lose your place in the team and things like that,
100%.
Which is all part of it. But yeah, I think in terms of like decisions I made, I don't think there's anything where I actually regret it. And,
sure.
And, you know, I mean, don't get me wrong, there's a couple of them non-league things, like I said, when you went over to Whitehawk and I think Hemel was another one. I went there for like 2 games. So that was just later on where you think, you sort of think things are going to be one way and they're not.
Yeah, of course.
But at that time, I was in a position where I weren't going to sit there and see what happens. I'll just go.
No, yeah, 100%.
Like, if it's not for me, then that's it.
100%.
Or whatever. So, yeah, I don't ever feel like that, to be honest with you.
What would you say is your best? Like, if someone asked you, what's your best moment in football? What's your best memory?
I would probably say when I was younger, like my first involvement when they first said to me that it's only a little thing that you're not going to be in the youth team change room.
Yeah, brilliant.
You're in the first team change room.
But back then as well, you had to earn that. Yeah. Every step along the way, like it was a different change room.
That was a thing, and then like your towels in there, and I'll never forget that first week when they said it to me. I got home, I found my dad straight away. I was like, Dad, you never guess what? I said, put my stuff in the first team change room. You know what I mean? And I'll never forget that because that to me was kind of like it was the end of everything that we'd done from like 8 years old, and I say we, because I'm
like a little bit of a change.
Yeah, and I say we because I do mean my mum and dad as well. I mean, they're the ones that took me all the time. Yeah, they're the ones that drove me there for all them years. You know what I mean? So it was that point where I thought, but then really that was just, it was the end of that, and it was the start of basically the next bit. Do you know what I mean?
That's like you've made a great point there. Sometimes I think these days, kids, when they get in that first environment, think they made it. When, as you say, actually, you've basically made the first step, and now you're at the bottom of the proper summit.
That was just the beginning.
You've got to kick on.
Because don't get me wrong, okay, that is an achievement to get there, but it's nothing in terms of what you're going to do next.
When you was on the bench, George, can you remember what squad number you was?
Yeah, 33.
33, yeah.
I've got one.
I've got one shirt.
I've got a couple, but one of them I was on the bench at Sunderland away.
Okay.
And my cousin Kieran was actually on the other team.
Oh, was he? Okay.
So I've got that, and the team sheet, 'cause obviously we're both on it.
Yeah.
I've got that shirt, like framed and that.
Actually. Did you keep much stuff from your playing, George?
I did, yeah. I've kept a few bits. Good. Funny enough, I've given a couple because little Ted. Yeah. He loves like random football shirts. So I think I actually give Ted one of my Crewe.
Did you?
Might even be the Wembley one actually.
Okay.
So you might see Ted rock up at training and that actually, but yeah. So
I like, as I say, being a massive collector of football memorabilia stuff. I'm always glad that, because some people don't, right? And I think it's all right at the time, but I think you regret it. Even from the fact that you said earlier, like just giving it to your kids or whatever.
Yeah.
Who would you say is the best player that you played with, Jord?
Best player I've played with.
Yeah.
To be honest, it'd have to, if you can include it as well.
Yeah.
It's got to be Zola when he was our manager.
Yeah.
Because he did used to train every day.
Yeah. I heard his best player on the pitch by a country mile, wasn't he?
Ridiculous.
Yeah.
He was ridiculous.
I think they always say the same. Him and Hoddle, managers, but ultimately, if they could still play, they'd still be the best player there.
The players at the time actually furiously asked him.
Did they?
I think it was Scott Parker was captain at the time, and obviously no, and they kind of said, "Look, do you think you can do like the last 15 games?"
What did he say?
That good.
No, he's a manager.
Sorry, I can't do that.
Bit of a random one, Joe. What about the worst?
The worst?
Yeah.
Oh,
put you on the spot here.
We had, to be honest, not long ago actually, when I was at East Fight, I said about Covo trying to juggle things. He brought this bloke in. Well, mate, honestly, I don't know. I think all the boys again was like, where have you got him from?
What, just when they sent him for a trial?
Yeah, brought him in, mate. Brilliant. Honestly, I reckon we could have brought Harley in. Honestly, he let him train about 2 or 3 times, and it was just comical in the end. So you do see some people, but even then, I'm one of them. Like you sort of feel sorry for them a little bit because they think that's their break, but they're miles off it. And I think that's when you realise the levels of...
I also think these days as well, people are not aware of the levels. Like I think people now, they're quite blasé about this, that, and then like... So I always get into the argument with even my dad, like, Frank Lampard, this, and I'm like, you don't realise the work that you used to put in before and after at West Ham to get to the levels. So lastly, Jord, I'm looking at you now, obviously you've been on a bench in the Premier League, you've played in League 2, you've played in the Conference, all the way down. What advice would you give to any young boy that's starting his journey now?
To be honest with you, I would probably just say you've just got to work as hard as you can and give yourself the best chance. You know what I mean? You're not... If you don't, like I said, if you don't put that work in and do what you can, and football is a massive element of luck and timing. Things have got to go your way.
Yeah, 100%.
But you've got to give yourself the best chance. You know what I mean? It's easy to think, oh, I'm doing all right, I'm at an academy, but that's not, that's not just enough, just being there. Do you know what I mean? And even like Harley, like he says things like, oh, I want to be a footballer, I want to be a footballer, which is brilliant. Because now I'm doing it from the parent side of it, which obviously is new to me. I might have experience as a player, academy football and whatever, but I think if every young kid wants to do it, but not all of them realise what it actually takes. So
I think that's the only time I brought it with Bert, like when he was, obviously he's come out of Orient now, but when he was in Orient, I'd say to him, if you are just doing what you're doing here, you'll never make it.
No.
And I think these days with the kids, there's so much going on, it's different to our day and age.
And I feel like there's so many kids now that are trying to be footballers. I mean, maybe it was like that, but I didn't really realise it as such. But
I just think now parents spend money on trying to shortcut it. There's
exactly.
One-to-ones, boxing coaches, running coaches. Like someone's always pushing their kid.
And I think it's got to be, the kid's dream, not the parents' dream. Do you know what I mean? Because it's easy to
we see that every week,
and then it goes the other way. The kid in the end, they don't want to do it.
Jord, going to let you go. We're going to go off and watch some football. I really appreciate your time. It's been really interesting to hear about your journey. And any kids locally, you've proved that you can go from, local football around the Southend area to on the verge of the Premier League. So, Jordan Brown, West Ham to Wakering. Thanks for your time, mate.
Cheers, mate. Thanks.
Appreciate that.